Welcome. We are now looking at the flow sheet synthesis, the recycle structure of the flow sheet. In the previous lecture, we dealt with the equilibrium limited processes or processes with reversible reactions, and then we saw how we can estimate the equilibrium conversion and then identify the dominant design variables that can help us take the conversion to maximum, so as to have as little recycle flow as possible. Then we also saw some other examples in which other means are used for shifting equilibrium to favorable side, such as continuous withdrawal of one of the products or addition of inerts, etc. Okay. And then we also saw the basic design of a compressor, because compressor is a major piece of equipment that adds to the process once we use a gas recycle and purge stream. We shall see in this lecture some aspects of reactor design. This lecture I am not going to go into great details of reactor design, because we do have a separate module on reactor design. We shall see some basic aspects of operation of a reactor, or let us say how to feed the reactants to the reactor so as to increase the selectivity and yield of the desired product, as well as to suppress the undesired products and the reversible byproducts. In the initial stage, the kinetic model for the reactor may not be available, because in the initial stage the most of the data comes from chemist who measures the cross conversion of the reactant, limiting reactant, and he tries to optimize the reaction at the point of maximum yield. Okay. Therefore, we have to base our material balance calculations on the basis of product distribution correlation. A chemist does develop these kind of correlations in terms of temperature, pressure, conversion, so on and so forth. What kind of reactor we should use for our process? For the initial designs, it is much useful to assume that we use the same type of reactor in the plant as used by the chemist in the laboratory to generate the data. And then we have to base the reactor size on the reaction half life measured by the chemist. Reaction half life is essentially the time that is required for about 63.2% conversion of the limiting reactant. If the reactor is adiabatic, okay, we have to base the design on the isothermal temperature, which is the average of inlet and outlet temperature, or the average of inlet and outlet rate constant. In the previous lecture, when we dealt with reactor heat effects, we saw the basic decision of operation of a reactor in either isothermal mode or the adiabatic mode, assuming that all heat of the reaction is absorbed by the reactor contents. After absorption of all the heat, if the temperature of the reactor contents does not go beyond the limit, then we can very easily go for the adiabatic operation. This kind of analysis is quite crude, though in most of the cases the reactor cost is not as important as the product distribution aspects, and therefore we have to look at the sensitivities until we can justify the additional work or the kinetic model that we need to develop for a rigorous reactor design. Now, as far as the cost estimation is concerned, you can very easily use the correlations developed for pressure vessels for estimation of the reactors. Okay. Now, let us see some basic design guidelines for the reactor. Some of these things you have already seen in the chemical reaction engineering course. So, this will be repetition. Depending on what kind of reactions are occurring in the reactor, you have to base the choice of the reactor. In the simplest case, where you have single irreversible reactions, which are not autocatalytic, if the reaction is isothermal with not much heat liberated or absorbed, you can always use plug flow reactor, PFR. Okay. If the reaction has significant heat effects, then go for adiabatic mode, okay, with plug flow. If reaction rate decreases with conversion, that means the amount of heat that is liberated goes down and the reactor heat load goes down. Reaction rate decreases with conversion. Or you can use a CSTR. Operating at maximum reaction rate, where the rate of heat liberation will also be maximum. So, the heat load will be maximum, followed by the plug flow section, once the rate of reaction slows down. If you have single reversible reaction, operating in adiabatic mode, use maximum temperature if the reaction is endothermic, so that you have maximum equilibrium conversion. Or alternatively, if the reaction is exothermic, then you have to use a series of adiabatic beds with intermediate cooling so as to enhance the equilibrium conversion. By applying intermediate cooling, you are essentially working with reducing temperature profile. Now, these are the guidelines in perhaps the luckiest situation when you have a single reaction, whether reversible or irreversible. But in most of the cases, you will have multiple reactions. Now, let us consider a case of parallel reactions. Okay. And the reaction that we take is A goes to R, which is desired product, and A goes to S, which is undesired product. The rate constant for A to R is K1 and rate constant for A to S is K2. The order of reaction is A1 and A2 may. Now, if you take the ratio of the two reactions, A goes to R and A goes to S, RR and RS, then we get K1 by K2 into Ca raised to A1 minus A2. Now, depending on the relative values of the rate constants as well as the order of reactions, we have to choose the proper concentrations of the two reactants. If A1 is greater than A2, we have to keep the concentration of A high, so that we favor the desired product. Now, how we can achieve it? Okay. You can use a plug flow reactor or use high pressure if it is a gas phase reaction. Try to eliminate the inerts which will decrease the partial pressure of your reactants, or you avoid recycle of products, which would again lower the partial pressure, or you can use a smaller reactor so as to have higher concentration of the reactants. Okay. This is when A1 is greater than A2. Okay. Now, in case A2 is greater than A1 or A1 is less than A2, then to favor formation of R, we have to keep Ca low. The concentration of limiting reactant A has to be kept low. Now, how we can do that? We use CSTR so that the concentration goes down of all the reactant, and high conversion, which means the residence time in the reactor is also high. Okay. Then you can decrease the partial pressure or concentration of the limiting reactant by large recycle of product. Then you can use low pressure, or as I mentioned in the previous lecture, you can add some inerts which will reduce the partial pressure, and lastly use a large reactor that will reduce the concentration, effective concentration of the limiting reactant. So, that is about the single parallel reaction with a single reactant. Suppose you have several reactants, like we have a reaction A plus B goes to R, and we have a reaction A plus B goes to S. Again, R is the desired product and S is the undesired or waste product. Now, in this case, let us say the rate constants are K1 and K2, and now we have to take into consideration the order of the reaction with respect to both reactants. Let us say the order of reaction, first reaction with respect to A is A1, with respect to B is B1, and then for the second reaction the order with respect to A is A2 and order with respect to B is B2. Okay. Now, if we take the ratio of the rates of the two reaction in similar way as we did earlier, then we get K1 by K2 into Ca raised to A1 minus A2, Cb raised to B1 minus B2. Now, here we have more alternatives depending on relative numerical values of A1 and A2 and B1 and B2. Let us say A1 is greater than A2 and B1 is greater than B2. Now, in this situation, we have to keep both Ca and Cb high. We can again use the same strategies as listed earlier, that you can use a plug flow reactor where both A and B are added at the same time. Let us say you have plug flow reactor and then both A and B are added at the same time. That will give you maximum of the desired product. Okay. Or if you have a CSTR, then you add all of A and all of B together. That means the net concentration is high in case of a CSTR. Now, second possibility, if A1 is less than A2 and B1 is greater than B2. Now, in this case, we have to keep Ca low, but Cb high. Now, how we can achieve this? A simple way to have this is to have a plug flow reactor in which B enters at the inlet and A is added at various locations, so that at any particular location in the reactor, the concentration of A is low. In the third situation, where we have A1 greater than A2, but B1 less than B2, we have to go for high Ca and low Cb. You can exactly reverse the strategy used earlier, and instead of B entering at the PFR inlet, A enters at inlet, and then B is added at different locations, so that at any particular location the net concentration of B is less. And finally, the case where A1 is less than A2 and B1 is less than B2. Now, in this case we have to keep both Ca and Cb low. Now, you can have this by using a CSTR, but very slow addition of A and B into it, so that at any point of time throughout the progress of the reaction, the net concentrations are small. This is as far as the parallel reactions from the reactants. You may also have consecutive reactions, like A goes to R, which is the desired product, which then gets converted to S, which is undesired product. You might recall that in a previous lecture we have dealt with such kind of a system. The typical concentration profile in this particular case would look like this. Concentration of A continuously decreases with time, concentration of B, the intermediate product, shows a maxima, and concentration of C continuously increases with time as the reaction proceeds. Now, in case of a chemist, he would like to give you maximum data in this range, the shaded range, where the yield of desired product is maximum. However, as we have seen, the point of maximum yield may not be the point of most optimum operation, because by the time we reach the maximum concentration of the desired product, a large amount of reactant is already converted as is shown, and if the value addition from A to B is marginal, which is the case for many petrochemical processes, we would not like to have conversion of A, which is a valuable reactant, into the waste product. Therefore, although the point of maximum yield may be this, the point of optimum operation could be at much lower conversion, okay, which would suppress the formation of the undesired product. Now, in this case, of course, we are going to have large recycle flow, but that is still affordable compared to the loss of reactant to the waste product. So, this is as far as the consecutive reactions are concerned. So, in this case, we have to solve the equations that we are going to do in the tutorial and see as what is the optimum time for maximum yield and so on and so forth. So, this point we leave here with this qualitative discussion. In some cases, the temperature effect comes into picture. Like let us say you have a parallel reactions as earlier, A goes to R and A goes to S. Now, how we can shift the product distribution? By shifting temperature. Let us say the rate constants of reaction are K1 and K2, K1 for the desired process and K2 for undesired product. Okay. Now, any constant can be written in this way. A is the frequency factor, the Arrhenius equation, E is the activation energy, R is the gas constant and T is the temperature of the process. Now, if E1 is greater than E2, if the activation energy for A to R reaction is higher than activation energy for A to S reaction, use of high temperature will favor the desired product, because due to high E1 the rate will increase faster with temperature than compared to the second reaction. However, if E2 is greater than E1, the reverse, we prefer low temperature, so that the rate constant of the undesired reaction is suppressed. In the case where E1 is equal to E2, then temperature is no longer a variable, because shift of temperature to any value will modify the rate of the both reactions to the same extent, so that K1 by K2 ratio, the ratio of rate constants remains the same. So, that point we have noted, if E1 equal to E2, temperature is no longer a variable. Okay. Now, this is for the parallel reaction. Let us say we have series reactions, then how we can use temperature for shifting the equilibrium. Okay. If E1 is greater than E2, then we have to use higher temperature at the initial stage of the reaction, that will favor conversion of A to R, but lower temperature in the later stage of the reaction, which will suppress conversion of R to S. That point we note, high temperature at initial stage or initial time, okay, that favors conversion of A to R, and low temperature at later stage that suppresses A to S, R to S. On the other hand, if E1 is less than E2, then we have to use low temperature all along. So that the conversion of A to R is favored, but R to S is suppressed. Okay. So, these are some of the basic guidelines that we can have for the reactor configuration or reactor design. As I said, we have a module on reactors after this. So, we are going to treat this topic with greater detail in that particular module. So, this essentially finishes our discussion on flow sheet synthesis. I would like to summarize what we have seen in the recycle structure of flow sheet before we proceed for tutorial session. Summary of recycle structure. We have essentially seen the questions or the decisions that we need to make to fix the recycle structure. The recycle structure of the flow sheet affects the cost of operation significantly, because the recycle structure decides the separation system, okay, and also the cost of recycling. The decisions that we need to make for deciding the recycle structure of the flow sheet is how many reactors, then should there be separation of any component between the reactors, then the next question that we dealt with was how many recycle streams. If two components which are essentially in the same phase, liquid or solid or gas, are being recycled at the same point of the process, there is no point in separating them. They can go in the same stream. So, that is the logic behind the number of recycle streams. Then use of excess reactant so as to force conversion of the limiting reactant to completion or to shift the equilibrium, okay. And then the recycle of the unconverted reactant, okay, the gas compressor. Recycle and purge stream, okay. Then we saw the equilibrium limited processes or the processes with equilibrium reactions, and then we saw how to shift the equilibrium conversion for the favorable product. And finally, we saw some basic guidelines of reactor operation. So, this completes the module 2 of this course, the theory part, and now we shall see some problems based on the theory that we have learned. We have essentially seen the 3 stages of the flow sheet synthesis. The first stage was to decide whether to go for a batch process or a continuous process. Then the next was the input output structure of the flow sheet, and then the recycle structure of the flow sheet. At various stages of the flow sheet synthesis, we identified certain aspects of the process which affect the flow sheet design. Okay. The first aspect that we identified was that of the selectivity. Rarely you will find a process in which a single reaction occurs. Rarely you will find a process in which there is only a single product. There are always large number of products, some are desired, some are undesired. There are always multiple reactions, and therefore, the selectivity is a very important aspect of the process design. Now, we shall see some problems on estimation of selectivity as a function of design variables. Okay. Now, let us see a simple problem. I am writing now the problem definition. Consider 2 parallel first order isothermal reactions in a batch or a tubular reactor. And we assume that the reactant that is fed is pure. The reactions are A goes to product, the desired product, and A goes to waste, the undesired product. The rate constants are K1 and K2, okay. And we have to use kinetic analysis to determine the selectivity as a function of conversion. So, the selectivity S is defined as moles of product divided by moles of A converted. I have already mentioned to you different definitions of selectivity. So, before you use data in literature, you have to make sure as how selectivity is defined. Selectivity can also be defined in an alternate way, that moles of desired product divided by moles of undesired product. But however, in the present situation, we are defining selectivity as moles of the product divided by moles of A converted. Okay. Now, let us start the analysis. Let us write the rate equations. dCp by dt, where P denotes the desired product, is equal to K1 into Ca. dCa by dt is equal to minus K1 into Ca minus K2 into Ca, because A is getting consumed through two reactions. So, you have two expressions. The initial condition is Ca equal to Ca naught at t equal to 0. Okay. So, well, you can integrate the equation, second equation first, and then put that solution in the first equation. Okay. So, integrating 2, equation 2, we get Ca equal to Ca naught exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T. Okay. Now, moles of A converted are Ca naught into Ca naught minus Ca. Therefore, Ca naught into 1 minus exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T. And now, we substitute this expression, we number this as 3. So, substituting 3 in 1, we get dCp by dt equal to K1 into Ca naught into exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T, and now integrate Cp is equal to integral K1 into Ca naught exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T dt. So, the integration limits are 0 to t, we take K1 Ca naught outside, 0 to t exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T dt. The integral is one by K1 plus K2 exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T with limits 0 to T, and then K1 into Ca naught divided by K1 plus K2 into 1 minus exponential K2 into T. Yes. So, these are the number of moles of product that are formed, or concentration of the desired product. We have to substitute this in the definition of selectivity. S is equal to moles of Cp divided by moles of A or Ca, that is K1 into Ca naught divided by K1 plus K2 into 1 minus exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T divided by Ca naught into 1 minus exponential minus K1 plus K2 into T. Now, this simplifies to S is equal to K1 plus K1 divided by K1 plus K2. This result is rather peculiar because you do not see here the conversion. S is independent of conversion, that point we note. So, the selectivity throughout reaction remains the same. Okay. Now, let us see a slight modification of this problem. Now, let us say that the first reaction is first order as earlier, but the second reaction is second order. And let us see how selectivity gets modified. We again start with the rate expressions. dCp by dt is equal to K1 into Ca. However, dCa by dt is now minus K1 into Ca minus K2 into Ca square, because second reaction is second order. Now, minus dCa by dt is equal to K1 into Ca plus K2 into Ca squared. Now, what we do is that we take the ratio of the two rate expressions. So, dCp divided by minus dCa is equal to K1 into Ca divided by K1 into Ca plus K2 into Ca squared, or rearranging this, we get 1 divided by 1 plus K2 by K1 into Ca. Then we separate variables. So, we have an equation to integrate. And we have two initial conditions. At t equal to 0, Cp equal to 0 and Ca equal to Ca naught. So, then we have the integrated expression. Cp is K1 by K2 into ln 1 plus K2 by K1 into Ca. The limits are Ca naught to Ca, but we have observed the negative sign here to reverse the limits, and then what we get is the final integral. Now, let us substitute both Ca and Cp in the definition of selectivity. But before that, we define conversion x as Ca naught minus Ca initial concentration of A minus concentration at any time t divided by initial concentration, okay, or in other words Ca equal to Ca naught into 1 minus x. So, the selectivity S is defined as Cp divided by Ca naught minus Ca, rise in concentration of product P divided by the reduction in concentration of A. Now, if you multiply these concentrations by volume, you will get number of moles. Okay, so, this is essentially same as number of moles of product P formed divided by number of moles of A converted. Okay. So, this is Cp into Ca naught into x, okay. And then we substitute all that we have, we substitute for Cp, we substitute for Ca. Okay. S is equal to Cp divided by Ca naught into x. So, 1 divided by Ca naught into x into K1 by K2 ln 1 plus K2 by K1 into Ca naught divided by ln 1 plus K2 by K1. Now, instead of Ca here we put Ca naught into 1 minus x. And this gives the result. Now, here you will find that selectivity is a function of conversion, which was in the earlier case. Here you see x on the right hand side. So, here the selectivity changes with the conversion. So, we have to find the optimum residence time in the reactor so as to have the maximum production of the desired product. Okay. Now, this was the determination of selectivity in parallel reactions. Now, let us try to see the same thing in consecutive reactions. Consider this is problem 2. Consider first order consecutive reaction. A goes to R goes to S with rate constants K1 and K2. The reaction is isothermal. R is the desired product and S is the waste product. Now, again selectivity S is defined as moles of R, which is desired product, divided by moles of A. Moles of R formed divided by moles of A consumed. And our task is to develop an expression based on kinetic analysis as how selectivity depends on conversion. Now, our approach is exactly the same as earlier. We have to first write the rate equations. For all the three components, rate expressions for all components. dCA by dt is equal to minus K1 into Ca. We assume all reactions to be first order. We also assume that the whole process is isothermal, so no heat effects. To dCr by dt is equal to K1 into Ca minus K2 into Cr, and then dCs by dt is equal to K2 into Cr. Okay. The initial conditions are at T equal to 0, Ca equal to Ca naught, Cr equal to 0 and Cs equal to 0. Okay. Now, integrating equation rate expression for A gives minus ln Ca by Ca naught equal to K1T or Ca equal to Ca naught e to the power minus K1T. Now, the second equation, that is equation for R. Now, we substitute this particular expression for Ca there. So, what we have is this, or if we rearrange, then what we have is this. Now, if we see what type of differential equation is this expression for Cr, then we find that the expression is very much similar to the first order linear differential equation in the form dy by dx plus py is equal to q. Okay. This is first order linear differential equation. In the general form, and what we have is very similar. Now, what we do is that we multiply throughout with integration factor e to the power integral p dx, and then we have a solution for the above general equation as y into integral e to the power integral p dx is equal to integral q into e to the power integral p dx into dx plus constant. So, this is a solution of general form of this particular equation. Now, if we compare this general solution to the equation we have for Cr, comparing general solution with equation for Cr, we find that the integrating factor is e to the power k2 into t, which is similar to e to the power p dx, and then the constant of integration with condition CR not equal to 0 at t equal to 0, the initial condition, the constant of integration is minus k1 into Ca naught divided by k2 minus k1. With these substitutions, we get the expression Cr into e to the power k2t is equal to integral k1 into Ca naught into e to the power minus k1t into e to the power k2t into dt minus the integration constant k1 Ca naught divided by k2 minus k1, or plus the integration constant which is minus k1 Ca naught divided by k2 minus k1. Now, you can easily simplify this. I am going to skip the intermediate algebra, you can easily work it out, but I am going to use the final expression. And then if you rearrange this, you will get expression for Cr in terms of k1, k2 and Ca naught. Now, the selectivity. Selectivity is defined in a similar way, number of moles of desired product formed divided by number of moles of A converted. Okay. So, Cr divided by Ca naught minus Ca. Now, we define the conversion x as Ca naught minus Ca divided by Ca naught, and then using the solution for the first equation, that is equation for Ca, differential equation for Ca, we get x equal to 1 minus e to the power minus e to the power minus k1t. Now, e to the power minus k1t then becomes equal to 1 minus x, then minus k1t becomes equal to ln 1 minus x. Then similarly, by multiplying both sides by k2, you get this. This is all mathematical jugglery, you can very easily compute it, and therefore, e to the power minus k2t is equal to 1 minus x raised to k2 by k1. So, what we have done is that essentially we have tried to get the expressions for the two exponentials e to the power minus k1t and e to the power minus k2t in terms of conversion x. And now, we substitute all expressions, substituting everything in expression of selectivity. S is equal to Cp divided by Ca naught minus Ca is equal to 1 divided by Ca naught into x into K1 Ca naught divided by K2 minus K1 into 1 minus x minus 1 minus x raised to K2 by K1. So, rearranging we have final expression for selectivity S as K1 divided by K1 minus K2 divided by x into 1 minus x minus 1 minus x raised to K2 by K1. And that completes our exercise. So, here also you will see that selectivity is a function of x.